Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, this is from Scientologycourses.org. Of course, they got a little ad here for the children course because, start young. So I'm guessing this is Chapter 8, Read Working with a Child's Willingness. Do you guys know what that would mean in black magical terms? In black magical terms, that's breaking someone's will. Aleister Crowley always said, do as thou'st, how did he say it? Do as thou'st will shall be the whole of the law, but what they all do is invert anything that's good. Working with a child's willingness. How then, without using force, do you get a child to do things? Wow, what a great start that is. Apparently a lot of the Scientologists didn't get the memo on that one. If you take an individual and make him play a musical instrument, as parents in schools do, his ability to play that instrument will not improve. We would first have to consult with him as to what his ambitions are. He would eventually at least have to agree with the fact that it is a good thing to play an instrument. He'd have to agree, you guys. He'd have to agree. Take, for example, a bad boy. He cannot be put in school and has to be sent to a military school. Listen to that, you guys. Got to break their will, you see. They are going to force him in order to change him. Kind of like the cadet org? And some people just don't want that information out, do they? Occasionally, this bad boy is sent to a school. Imagine even labeling a child as a bad boy just because he won't go along with the plan. Just freaking enrages me. This bad boy is sent to a school which simply thinks the best way to handle such cases, the child, is to find something in which he is interested and to allow him to do it. What a freaking concept. Such a school once existed in California and consecutively produced geniuses. Propaganda from, the best here. More likely he's referring to the mind control programs, some of them. The roster of World War II's scientists practically marched from that particular school. They figured that it must have been the example set by the professor. Of course, right? The guru. His purity in not smoking cigars or something like that. I just can't do the LRH voice today. What actually happened was they took a boy with whom nobody got any results and said, isn't there anything you would like to do? Do you guys remember the last time these Scientology children were ever asked what they wanted to do? The boy said no, and they answered, well, fuss around in the lab or grounds or something, and someday you make up your mind. The boy who thought this over and decided that he wanted to be a chemist. Nobody ever sent him to class and told him to crack a book. They discourage school in Scientology mostly. And nobody ever complained very much when he blew blank up something in the laboratory. And the next thing you know, the boy was an excellent chemist. I guess his stats were down then, huh? Nobody interrupted his desire to be a chemist. It existed then, and from that point on, he was not himself, interrupting his willingness to be a chemist. Educationally, this is a very interesting point. Consulting willingness. People will permit you to take things away from them if you do it gracefully. Listen to that, you guys. Let's say that again. You know, like the last 5 years of the world. How many things were taken away from people the last 5 years? Wakey, wakey. People will permit you to take things away from them if you do it gracefully and don't upset their willingness too much. And we're all supposed to believe LRH came up with this all by himself, right? Please. The way you make a greedy or a selfish child, abuse him, is to make him, against his will, give up things to other children. Isn't that great, you guys? Isn't that wonderful? That's a boundary, just complete boundary cross right there. Teaching the children that they don't have any right to their property or to have a say-so in their life. You will eventually drive him into the only one category, feeling he's the only person who really matters at all. I don't know about that. Parents usually never consult the child's willingness. He's talking about will, you guys. He's talking about someone's will. They consult his havingness, his ability to own or possess, then handle it. Oh, what a great word to use, handle. Then handle it, and they have a spoiled child. It's nauseating reading this stuff. It is interesting to watch a child that has been around somebody who always consulted him, but didn't take very good care of him, as opposed to a child who had the best of care, but who was never consulted. You guys notice he's talking like in third person again, talking about the child like the child is a subject in a lab. A little boy is sitting on the floor playing with blocks and balls and is having a good time. Along comes a nurse who picks him up and takes him into the other room and changes his diapers, not the parent, of course. And he screams bloody murder the whole way. He doesn't like it. She keeps on doing this to him, placing him around, never consulting his power of choice. What an interesting set of words. Power of choice. You guys see where the black spells come in? Never consulting his power of choice, and he will eventually grow up obsessed with the power of choice. Freedom. He has to have his way. He becomes very didactic, assertive of his own rightness. Kind of narcissistic right there. He is trying to hold down the last rungs of it, and his ability will be correspondingly poor, particularly in the handling of people. Because, like everyday people, we got to handle each other, right? Everybody's got to handle each other. You guys ever see music videos with celebrities or superstars, singers, and they have hands all over them? That's symbolic for handler. I used to do some really, really good videos, but the you-know-who's they didn't like it. Now, this is quite different. The child is hungry, and he ought to eat. The child will eat if he's kept on some sort of routine. If supper is served routinely at 6, he will get used to eating at 6, and his willingness will never be quite overwhelmed. He finds out that food is there at 6 o'clock, and so he makes up his mind to eat at 6. You provide the food, and he provides the willingness. Think about, it's just so insane. If you don't override that, he will never have any trouble about food. Then somebody comes along and talks to him and says, couldn't be his parents though, could it? Wouldn't you like to go into the other room and change your clothes? And the answer is no. You're making a horrible mistake if you proceed from that point on. The basis of, I'll give you a piece of candy. Persuade, seduce, coax, etc. That is psychology, the way psychologists handle situations, and it doesn't really work. You take 1 or 2 courses. I think the word course came from the military, and I also believe it has something to do with the magic, the course, coursing through your veins. Either you use excellent control with lots of communication or just let him grow. There is no other choice. Kids don't like to be mauled and pulled around and not consulted. You could talk to a child, and if your degree of affection, agreement, and communication with him are good, you can make him do all sorts of things. Isn't that great, you guys? Isn't that great to make a child do all sorts of things, huh? He will touch the floor, his head, point you out, and find the table. He will fool around for a while, and after that, you can just say, do so-and-so, and let's go and eat, and he will do it. You guys see the obey command stuff going on here? Obey command stuff, that's MK Ultra. He has found out that your commands are not necessarily going to override the totality of his willingness. So your commands are therefore not dangerous. You have confronted him, and he can confront you. Therefore, you and he can do something. I don't know. Child sometimes says, I want to stay up with you, and they insist on doing so, exerting their power of choice. Just letting children do what they are doing and not interfering with them and not exerting any control on them is psychology. They are never going to be in communication with anybody. They won't grow or get experience in life, for they didn't change their havingness. They didn't have to change their mind, work, exercise, or do anything. But they respond very readily to good control and communication. But it certainly takes good communication to override this. Not persuasion, but good communication. People think that persuasion works with children. It doesn't. It's communication that does the trick. You say, well, it's time for you to go to bed now, and he says, no. Don't stay on the subject. Leave it alone and just talk about something else. What did you do today? Where? How? Oh, did you? Is that a fact? Well, how about going to bed? And the answer will be okay. One doesn't have to use force. Go into communication with the child. And control follows this. Troll. As an inevitability. Omit control from the beginning when bringing up a child. Like your child. And he who looks to you for a lot of his direction and control is gypped, really. He thinks you don't care about him. Wow, I wonder why that would be, huh? However, as in this case with the playing of musical instruments, learning of languages, or the arts and abilities, consult the child's willingness. If you guys didn't know, this is all about breaking the child's will. And that's Black Magic 101. So I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.